Going to do. Can Josh Herrin, the number 2, disrupt it? 12 laps in this race. Revs are up, and we're going. Looked like Herrin got a really good launch on the Ducati initially, but there goes Jake Gagne. He's got a half a bike length. Herrin's got position, and JD Beach on the 95 trying to go up the inside, but it is going to be Gagne who sweeps around the outside, but Josh Herrin will lead the way for the moment as they go down the hill.
Did you see how Gagne let off there a little bit on the inside? There's a big rolling bump there, Greg, that will literally move your bike over 4 feet. So he did a smart thing. Gagne is obviously knew that and let off as they went down into turn number 2. Now it was a great start from JD Beach, who got pinched off just a little bit there up in that tricky turn 1. Escalante there, and you can see Matthew Schultz has done a tremendous job coming from 9th on the grid to slot himself into 4th early on.
Liking what I'm seeing from these riders. It's going to be who gets the drive onto the back straightaway with a draft and pass maneuver. There goes Gagne. He's trying to go up the inside of Herrin. Herrin trying to get that Ducati stopped, but he is way off the apex. 1. It's going to be just 1 as Escalante on the 54 in 3rd place isn't able to take advantage, but Herrin comes right back in the draft. He's got position up the inside because the next corner they go to is a left-hander, and Herrin retakes the lead as it's all fight for the Californian.
And when you watch that, you see Herrin even gave Jake a little bit of room there to do something on the outside, and Gagne was able to turn that bike back up underneath him on the exit of that corner for the first time. Escalante able to go with both of them at the moment, so really nice stuff from Richie Escalante there on the 54. You see Schultz, PJ Jacobson, and JD Beach running back there in 4th, 5th, and 6th respectively. This is to this battle for 2nd and 3rd, and you see JD Beach also trying to get by Matthew Schultz. Then you've got Brandon Posh right there behind him. Escalante wants to try to do something with Herrin, and he's going to have to do it pretty soon.
Jake Gagne out front, by the way, goes 2:08.586, fastest lap of the race, and now an outright race lap record, beating Danilo Petrucci's 2:08.648 last year in race number 1. So Gagne now sets the fastest lap for a Medallia Superbike here at Circuit of the Americas. And let me tell you, it is hot out there, and they have 12 total laps to race, Hannah, and it's hard to imagine how these riders can even think about being cool.
They do, Greg, and there's a lot of different things you see throughout the heat in as many ways as possible, but the Ice Fest is definitely a unique go in it.
That's awesome. Thanks, Hannah.
Yeah, those things really help, and what a job this guy has done. Escalante, I think this is what he needed to do, Greg. He needed to get into the stadium section ahead of the 2, because right here, that Suzuki is showing that it has a lot of edge and side grip. As you can see him just pull away ever so slightly from the 2, and it's the same thing here last lap. He was able to get that bike in tighter and turn it a little bit better than Herrin was on that Ducati, and then he's going to be able to take advantage of this all the way through this big, long right. He needs to be able to pull just enough away from Josh to where Herrin can't do anything with him up this front straightaway and then possibly outbrake him as they go into turn 1. Herrin does a nice job, though, of closing that gap back in these last couple of corners, turns 19 and 20. All the while, PJ Jacobson is trying to catch these guys from behind. JD Beach has made the path on Matthew Schultz. Now Matthew's going to have to deal with Brandon Posh this group, though. The 95, the dirt tracker who finished his last season, race of the season last weekend, has put himself in a spot there, Greg, up to 6th place, 5th place, and he's the fastest of the riders that you see directly in front of him at the moment.
JD Beach is happy to be here, doesn't really care about the heat because he's so happy to be on a road race machine again. He finished 3rd in the championship in the American Flat Track Series. And as Jason, you just said, that series wrapped up. So all the focus now for JD Beach is it was announced that Beach on that fresh and lean progressive Yamaha will be contending this round and in 2 weeks' time, the final round at New Jersey Motorsports Park for this team.
And you think about what the job that JD Beach is doing, Greg. He's not a full-time Superbike rider, and we've seen him here in the past. We've seen him win Supersport championships. We've seen him win a Superbike race, but he's been off doing that Essence and racing thing for 3 years. It's great that they're able to let him come and do this and kind of chase doing some road racing, but what an incredible talent. You get a little bit look at PJ. Hannah, what do you got for about JD Beach?
Been 4 years for JD Beach since he's been here, so having that test a couple weeks ago was really crucial for him to just kind of see where things are at. He qualified 5th, and he was really excited about it compared to starting from the 4th row at Pittsburgh. They had some bike issues early Friday, so he was down some laps, but yesterday he ended up getting some longer stints this morning and felt consistent. But having a weekend on the Superbike at Pittsburgh woke up some muscles he hasn't used in a while, so he's definitely feeling much stronger.
Josh Herrin right there. So if you look at Richie Escalante, Jay, one of the biggest things for the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki, the actual motorcycle itself, was the ability of Chris Ulrich to connect with Suzuki Motors Corporation in Japan. And the swing arm that's on this motorcycle right now is the same swing arm that Suzuki bikes use at the Suzuka 8-hour. They got it just before pit race, but it wasn't in time to install it pit race. So Brandon Posh, that is an unusual miscue for the 96.
Haven't seen it all year.
Nope. And so, unfortunate for him, he's going to try to pick that bike up and keep going if the bike is rideable. But Posh, who's put on a great show, crashes out of 7th.
Yeah, that is a bummer. And, you know, just going back to what you were talking about with Chris. Chris is using every resource he has and being extremely smart about how he's doing it to try to get this team to continue to evolve this G6R 1000. And it's really incredible when you think about what they've done on this bike, considering there's not been a new model out in years. And the effort it's taken for them as a team to continue to get that bike good is pretty good, is pretty incredible. I'm really bummed to see Brandon tip off. It looked like it was in the turn 8 area also. That bike looked like it might have been on the inside of turn 9. So Brandon Posh continues just to fall back. That's going to move Ashton Yates up and Corey Alexander up.
A tremendous amount of work. There's the GSXR 1000, Jay. You talked about it. That bike has pretty much been unchanged since 2016, in contrast to the bike that Josh Herron's riding behind him, which is only a couple of years old. But we also know, in talking to Ducati, that this Panigale V4R has been updated since last year in its Superbike trim, and it is about, they estimate about 10% better of a motorcycle than it was last year in its debut. And then, of course, you have that brand new 2023 BMW M1000RR, significantly different in profile if you look at the 2022 to the 2023 bike that PJ Jacobsen is on for the Tytler Cycle Racing Team. And we know that that motorcycle is an absolute missile, and is definitely a missile with the small in stature PJ Jacobsen on it. And then JD Beach, of course, on the Yamaha R1, another machine that's got a little bit long in the tooth, but with Richard Stamboli and his entire crew, they're working for the Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha team. They have made this bike an absolute weapon, and that's why it's Herron again, just struggling either with front tire or brake issues for Herron to get that bike slowed down, and a big advantage for Escalante.
Greg, it is so hot and it is so easy. Even if as fit as these guys are, it's so easy to make a small error of judgment getting down in there, and it allowed PJ to pull up alongside of that Ducati and go past. Now, for JD Beach, he's going to have to try to make quick work of Herron as well. The thing about what Josh does is he'll hang on. He'll do everything he can to hang on to the back of whoever is in front of him. And you know, I just started to see Escalante getting away just a tiny bit. Maybe Herron felt like he needed to get into that corner and a little bit deeper and get out a little bit harder to try to close that gap back up. But it actually cost him just a little bit of time now.
And talking with a variety of crew chiefs for the different teams that I get to, of course, temperature of the engine or temperature of the cooling system is very vital, especially in a day that's 100 degrees here in Texas. And with the look, it's basically pretty simple, Jay. The more horsepower that's created, the more heat is generated.
That's right.
And so you have Superbike radiators and everything, but each one of these motorcycles has been struggling to keep the temperature down below the boiling point. So now, across the stripe, it's Gagne with a 4.2 second lead over Escalante. And of course, the 99 PJ Jacobsen goes into 3rd spot, and taking over 4th into turn number 1 is going to be JD Beach.
Yeah, that's going to be a great pass for JD. You saw him just get into the back, that draft there of Herron as they came up the front straightaway, and then just poked his nose out there to try to get by. So the 95 still on a quest to get this bike on the podium. Just to let you know, Greg, 2:10.5s are what the two guys at the front are doing. Gagne is being matched right now by Escalante's pace as well, albeit he's 4.2 up the road. 2:10.8 also for PJ Jacobsen, and then we have these two guys, 2:11.7 for Herron, but 2:11.1 for JD. So the thing is JD Beach right now has got to continue to keep looking forward and go chase down a BMW now.
Back there in 9th place is Wrenched Motorcycles Yamaha R1's Bobby Fong, and last time he came by the stripe, it was his fastest lap of the race, also at a 2:11.6.
Also hearing now that Hayden Gillum pulled in to the pits, Greg, so I'm not sure what happened with Hayden, but we'll try to see what happened there. He's on the 69, so Hayden Gillum out, and I'm not just sure that I'm not going to say anything, but it looked like there was a little puff of smoke out of that Ducati as it was going down the back straightaway, so we'll have to keep an eye on that one also.
Oh yeah, that would be something else. So Gagne, who's just so comfortable with this motorcycle. And you know, Jason, I asked Jake Gagne earlier today when we were hanging out talking in the air conditioning. I said, Jake, at this point of your career, are there any moments where you surprise yourself? And the one thing that he commented to me, it looks like Josh Herron maybe is faded back.
I saw smoke coming out that exhaust, Greg, down the back straightaway. So we'll keep an eye. He was right on the back of everybody here.
Yeah, we don't see him in the picture.
And he's nowhere in the shot anymore. So yeah, he's definitely not there anymore. There's Skoltz and there's Herron. So
he's looking around.
Something's going a little awry with the Ducati.
I can see the smoke as well.
Yeah,
as he rolled off the throttle there. So again, with the amount of heat produced with these motorcycles and the high temperatures today, this is not outside the realm of possibilities. You can see the smoke bellowing now from the back end.
And he's going to take it. He'll probably have a look back and see that the thing is smoking. And yeah.
So for Josh Herrin, he can feel the power loss, I'm sure. See the temperatures on the dashboard, probably flashing at him as well. So what'll happen is the black flag will come out.
The worst part is it wasn't blowing smoke out when he turned around and looked back. Now he'll see that smoke and maybe try to get the thing off the track. The last thing you want to see it do is lock up, blow up, or do something like that and put him on the ground. You can see he's got his leg out, letting the riders behind know.
So for Josh Herrin, as Jake Gagne continues to lead the way, there's 5 laps to go in this race, and it looks like, unfortunately for Josh Herrin, as he has been black flagged on that Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati, that it's going to be over for him. It doesn't look like there's any oil spilling on the track, Jay, but it's leaking somewhere.
Something like that never gets better. It's not going to get better the more he rides it. So
smooth sailing so far for the #1 plate Gagne, 3 in a row. When I talked to Jake, as I mentioned, I asked him if he surprised himself at all. When they came here testing a few weeks ago in this heat, Gagne said they could not get out of the 210s. It was 210-0, 210-0, 210-0. So when they went 209 and he went 208 on a race tire earlier today, he said he was pretty shocked. Here's the battle for 6th place, Jason, and leading the way is Tytler's BMW rider. The 23 is Corey Alexander, your stock 1000 champ from last year. And there's Bobby Fong, the rider that can do it all. Your
riding everything.
Super Sport champion from a couple years ago who races a variety of classes, also has a full-time job with Dainese. His leather sponsor is also his employer. And then right behind him is Ashton Yates, and Ashton really put in some good laps in qualifying earlier in the day today.
He's been riding great all year. Bobby Fong looking to take a shot now here. You can see him go up underneath Corey Alexander into turn number 19. Corey's had a pretty tumultuous, he's had a really hard last couple of rounds. You know,
he certainly has.
Oh, Bobby, did he outbrake himself, catch false neutral, or just lose power? We've already seen one of the motors expire in that wrenched R1 earlier this weekend, yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know. It might even been a transmission thing for him.
Yeah, that's like a false neutral type of thing. But for Corey, he's just had a tough run, and he's on an older BMW of the Tytler's team. Yeah,
I mean, to your point, Jason, what you're looking at there is a 2021, basically, when it kind of came out. It's a 2021, 2022 BMW M1000RR Corey Alexander, and then you're looking at an older model BMW S1000RR, a bike from Scheibe Racing that goes back to around the 2016 deal, as Josh Herrin is out of that race. As you can see, he's heading back to the pits as the team takes a look at what happened to that motorcycle.
Yeah, until they look and really see exactly, they're going to have to, it's going to be an engine replace, I'm sure, this evening. 4 to go, Greg. You can see here, Jake Gagne is at 4.8. It stayed about that the whole time now, and I think we've got to start talking a little bit about Richie Escalante and the job he's doing and has done all season long, and how much it would mean to him and this team to bring this bike home in the place it's in now. He's been working extremely hard, and the bike still looks extremely glued to the ground all through these little sections here. So for Richie, we know how fit he is.
Yep. I was thinking the same thing, actually, in terms of I want to look at PJ Jacobsen and see when he applies the throttle, how much rear tire does he have left. Of course, JD Beach has got a bird's eye view of what's going on with that motorcycle of PJ Jacobsen. But Jay, looking at the 2023 BMW M1000RR and going back to what I was talking about with Corey Alexander and Ashton Yates, if you see those motorcycles side by side, the 2021/2022 bike versus the 23, the aero, the bodywork, and is extremely different.
A lot different.
And what BMW says is that bodywork alone is worth 5 miles an hour faster in terms of how this 99, now add to the fact that Corey Alexander's over 6 feet tall, he's super skinny versus PJ Jacobsen, and there's been a speed deficit for Corey Alexander all year of a couple mile an hour at least.
Yeah, and the fact is yesterday he got about 8 laps because they had a motor blow yesterday, and they've just been finding a lot of little problems down there in Corey Alexander's camp, and they're trying to do whatever they can to just get him through these races. So there was a new motor installed for him last night that actually wasn't new, so he's out there just kind of pedaling it around. But PJ Jacobsen doing a good job for the Tytler's team, and JD Beach doing everything he can to get through. That last time by Escalante, you can see him, Greg, he had almost a second up the road from these guys, and that's really a magic marker for a rider, especially when you see 2 to go. If he can come by and see that he's got +1 on his board, that will give Escalante a big jolt of confidence as he's just starting to get away. You can see the leader, Jake Gagne, up the road ahead of him. For JD Beach, it's more of a question of where is he going to make this pass. It's going to be difficult for him to get too close to that BMW down the straightaways. So he's going to have to get creative with where he wants to do this.
Yeah, with just the raw talent alone of PJ Jacobsen. Plus, Matthew Schultz, of course, a race winner in Medallia Superbike over the years, as is JD Beach, who's now gotten around PJ Jacobsen.
Yeah.
And PJ, of course, a race winner as well. Jay, we have a host of races. Jake Gagne, of course, had 38 race wins. Don't forget, in 2017.
PJ thought about trying to roll it back up underneath him. It just wasn't close enough. Now, the question is, can JD Beach?
Boy.
You can see he's got his head down. He'd love to give this team a 1-2 finish. But it's going to come with a fight for Richie Escalante. You can be guaranteed.
Yeah, so a 2-10-7 for both Escalante and Beach. And Beach did it while getting through PJ Jacobsen. I mentioned, of course, Jake Gagne. He had 17 race wins in the first year he started winning Medallia Superbike races. And only in 3 short years, Gagne has already had 38 wins total. JD Beach, of course, has a win from some years ago in the Medallia Superbike class. Josh Herron has 9 wins to his credit. PJ Jacobsen has 1. That was this year at Brainerd. Bobby Fong has 3 wins to his credit. He's back in 8th place. And of course, you've had Josh Hayes dip his toe in the class this year at 61. Cameron Beaubier, who's not here, has 59 career wins.
Matthew Schultz is a winner.
Matthew Schultz is a race winner. He has 5 in the class. So this is a talent, just a massively talented field. But for a guy like JD Beach to have won a Medallia Superbike race, come back from, you mentioned it, Jason, American flat track racing, and JD mentioned it at pit race. It took his brain a little while to get up to speed.
To adjust, huh?
Yeah, it would have been interesting. I'm going to ask JD when I talk to him tonight or tomorrow morning about how it was to go.
Screen pretty quickly, but you can definitely see 95 is not done with this yet, as the sector 3 times now. Gagne is through. 32.6, 32.3 for JD Beach, so he's got another 3/10 just in the last 2 splits. He's gained almost half a second on the number 54. So JD Beach, as he get that bike sideways through the middle of that 16, 17, 18 complex, he's going to be in with a shout at the end of that back straightaway when they go through next time, I believe.
This is your race leader. He comes across the stripe. It's white flag, so 1 lap to go for Gagne as we rate the arrival of these two. That's 2nd and 3rd place. It's 4 seconds the gap. A 2:10.9, 8/10 of a second.
Fastest guy on the track on the night is the 95, and he's done it by quite a wide margin. 0.8 of a second quicker than the guy in front of him. 2:11.5 for Gagne up front, who's got this thing on cruise. So it's really going to be up to JD right now. See that big bump there, huh?
Yeah, it was just going over the curbing there, and I don't think he was. Riders have done that before, Jay, but not at that angle.
Well, to be honest with you, talking to the riders and even experiencing it a little bit last week, in turn 3 over the curbing, we've seen a lot of MotoGP riders and things go over it, but there's a bump now. A lot of these guys now are using the curbing in turn 4. So they're going around the 1 and 3, they're going over the curbing in turn 4. Escalante's done a good job responding here through those S's. JD Beach was not able to close in at all through the XS section. So Escalante probably got the hurry up from his team to let him realize that, hey, it's not +1 anymore. He's got a nice little gap back to JD Beach now. He's not going to be under any threat in the braking zone at the end of the straightaway.
Richie Escalante in 2nd place, looking to get his first Medallia Superbike podium on that Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki with half a lap to go. JD Beach not within striking distance, looking to put his fresh and lean progressive Yamaha on the podium for the first time in a while as Escalante's getting all over the racetrack.
Yeah.
JD's getting closer and closer.
Yeah, that's going to be in 1st gear. He got the thing obviously spinning up. Did Escalante, so that bike spun up on him and wheelied. That allowed JD Beach to gain a little bit of time. This is where Richie's going to have to be absolutely perfect. As you can see, that bike starting to tie itself up a little bit now. He's going to have to be perfect through this long right-hand section because JD Beach had the rear tire lit up on the exit of this one a lap ago, but he could go down the inside if given the chance, and he doesn't do it there, but he might be able to do it here. I think Richie's got this.
Here comes JD.
See if he has a go. Yep, no.
Final corner, onto the front straightaway we go. Gagne's already there. He'll come across the stripe and take his 10th win of the season. And to the line they come. JD Beach wheel in the air. A podium finish, and he's happy. But Richie Escalante and his team over the moon. And so it's going to be a pair of fresh and lean progressive Yamahas. And in the middle is going to be the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki of Richie Escalante, who finally gets it done with PJ Jacobsen in 4th, Matthew Schultz in 5th. And that long, hot race has come to a conclusion, and you can see that
on the box. Absolutely remarkable performance. Roger, you called it. He's super fit. You said watch for him late in the race, and man, did he deliver.
Look, I know you were yelling at your TV saying that Richie Escalante and JD Beach were reeling in Jake Gagne at the end of that race. There was no doubt, because for Jake Gagne, as he celebrates his victory, it was a 2.5-second margin victory. But I'm going to tell you something, Jake Gagne. Let's get down to Hannah, who has our winner.
A couple more guys in that battle, but for JD to come here and, get on the podium in a Superbike race and, almost close down for second. They took 2 laps off the, from the race. It could have came in handy for him today, but worked hard. And Richie Escalante, he's been putting the work in the last year and a half. We talked a lot about, getting a good start, doing the first lap, being there in practice. Today he's third off the line, really capitalized on that front row start and just made his life a lot easier. And it was great to see him get on that podium, and also for that team. Yeah. They've been working really hard the last couple years. And, it's not a win, but right now you take those small victories and stack those up for a big one.
Well, it was first podium, too. It was a second, not a third. So, I mean, that's a nice thing. And I was kind of waiting for him in the interview when Hannah said, what helped you? I was waiting for him to get a start. And he launched it. But I'll tell you, the thing that's really wonderful for Richie here, down here in Texas, he's got a huge contingent, I know, of fans that have come up and are watching him here. And to do this for them, and you see him probably with that flag, that's mighty special.
And I believe it's Colin Edwards up there giving out the podium there. That's pretty cool for these guys, World Superbike champ.
There's some royalty for you, handing out the trophies here. Absolutely. PJ Jacobson, BMW right there in fourth, doing a nice job.